And good afternoon, everyone. This is the Curation Corner from the Steam at Ramble and being broadcast on D Live at Rambling Radio. And today we're going to be welcoming Carl Nash to join us. Welcome, Carl. You've been on the platform about actually just past your 1 year anniversary. You joined on July the 12th of 2017. So congrats on your first year.
I just had my Steam birthday. I've been having a blast here. Before I joined Steam, I've been posting online, content online on a number of different platforms. I wrote a couple gaming blogs. I'm a big role-playing gamer. I play Dungeons and Dragons and some other games like that and posted about those. And I'm a musician and an artist and would share that, for free basically on Facebook. And love the idea of Steam, and I've really loved the community of people that I've met here. So having an absolute blast.
So with a gaming background, how did you end up into moderate or curation the way you have?
I got into Curie because I received a Curie vote, and I'm sure most everybody here knows what that is, but if you don't, Curie is a curation organization that can give authors a pretty large upvote. Curie, and wrote a post and woke up the next morning and it was at like $150 pending payout, and I was freaking out trying to figure out what happened, and found out about the organization, and I was like, well, this is really cool, and I wanted to look into it. And it turned out I had a friend who was a top curator and who could recommend in new curators, and how excited I was when I got that big upvote and how much of a difference it meant to me. So I thought, well, hey, this is really cool. I would love to get to do this for other people and hunt around for new posts to reward new posters. And as it turned out, I was pretty good at it. It takes a skill set of both being able to, have the time and patience to sift through all the crap that's out there, because there's an awful lot of spam posting and crap posting. And you also have to have kind of a spider sense for plagiarism that gives you the little warning bells of when you really need to dig deep. And then also having kind of a well-rounded skill set, where I'm a visual artist and a musician and, good reading comprehension, that definitely helps. So I think I had the right skill set to be good at it, and ended up being the top overall curator for the next 6 months after I joined. And so, which means that now I'm actually a Curie reviewer. I scored well enough as a curator that I'm now one of the people who reviews Curie posts. And I also earned what's called a direct follow from Curie, meaning I can give a quote unquote small Curie upvote, even though it's still a pretty large vote. In the grand scheme of things, it's not anywhere near as big as the big Curie vote, but I can kind of hand those out as I see fit, more or less. I earned that right through 6 months of really good performance as a curator. And I've been having a ball. The more I curate, the more I like doing it. It's just such a great feeling to be able to help somebody get noticed on this platform.
It is. It can be a lot of fun doing curating. And I noticed Snook just announced that she got a Curie on one of her posts. So congratulations, Snook.
Oh, thanks. It's the same one. It's the bad girl one.
Yes.
But I'm going to be in the, they picked me to be in their review, the author review today. This morning I woke up to that. So I was really excited about that too.
So what's the difference between getting a Curie and getting a Curie and ending up in the author review?
Sure. So, Curie upvotes over 100 posts a week. And then Curie curators their favorites from the past few days to be featured in an author showcase posting. So it's kind of like the best of the best sort of deal. So I think it's quite an honor as an author.
I took it as such.
Yeah, Curie blog has a ton of followers. So when you're getting showcased on the Curie blog, you're really being put in front of a lot of eyes, and hopefully it brings some, more exposure and some new eyes to your work. But really, that's all it is just Curie curators saying, hey, this was one of my favorite of the posts that Curie uploaded this week. And then we invite those people, and if they say yes, we've got a couple of the Curie curators write a twice weekly showcase. And we try to both focus on the post at hand and also a little bit about the author as well. And we give the authors a chance if they want to, make a statement or we give them that opportunity as well. So it's not just about the post, it's also trying to give the author a platform to talk to Steam at large.
Do you have specific guidelines that you follow with Curie?
If you want to get a real comprehensive overview of Curie, you can visit curiesteam.com and read the white paper. And the Curie Discord, and if you go to the announcements channel in the Curie Discord, there'll be a link to the most up-to-date guidelines. Currently, the guidelines are Curie will only upload a post that's less than 1 day old, or rather, a review when the post was less than 1 day old. It can go over 1 day while it's waiting in the queue for a reviewer to look at it. Currently, looking for posts that are under $5 pending payout. But then the more important guidelines are drives, but also not a repost, meaning that even if the author was posting their own material, but it had been elsewhere online first, that typically wouldn't be eligible for a Curie. If it's cross-posted on Steam blockchain within a few days of it being posted elsewhere, that'll be fine. But we're not looking to give a huge upvote to somebody who's just uploading, material that's been online for years already. We're looking for exceptional content, exceptional kind of loaded terms. What does exceptional mean? We have written a series of posting called the Expanded Guidelines. I think the last one of those came out in March on the Curie blog. You can search for the Expanded Guidelines on the Curie blog. Break down what exceptional means to us in some different categories. But really, we're looking for authors who are posting about things that they're genuinely excited about, that are unusual in some way. Part of the definition of exceptional means that it's an exception, right? It's not, not just some pictures from my vacation. Here's the pictures of the day from my vacation post. That might be a fine post, but it's not really exceptional. Everybody makes those posts every time they go on a trip. There's got to be something more than just a couple pictures of the day and, this was my trip. So what it means for any individual post to be exceptional will kind of vary a lot, but one of the things we try to take into account is, does this seem like it's something that the author is genuinely interested in and excited about? Can we look at their past posting and see, a history of them talking about this? Likely that it's not plagiarized, and if you're posting about something that you're interested in, it's much more likely that it's going to come across better if you've got some passion for it yourself. And Curie is also looking to reward engaged authors, and so we actually, I'm saying we as a reviewer, we will actually go into the comment history of the author, and we're not just looking at the post at hand. We're looking at their full body of posting and the comments that they leave. Are they an engaged member of the community? Are they responding to comments? Are they leaving comments on other people's posting? And if an author is an engaged author who's commenting and posting about something that they care about and has created an interesting and unusual post that's not plagiarized and it's fresh material, it'll get uploaded. That's really what we're looking for.
So there's a couple of questions there. Kurt Ross has asked, do you post things to Curie for them to review, or do they just find your work by magic? And the other question was in regards to the cross-posting elsewhere. How about people that are using SteamPress?
It's the easier question. I'll get that first. I mean, I said, even if something's cross-posted even within a few days, even up to a week, it'll often get approved. SteamPress is more or less simultaneous, so that's absolutely fine. It's the cross-posting thing. It's mostly we're just not wanting to reward, or we don't really feel that it adds a ton of value to the blockchain if all you're doing is taking material that you've already had elsewhere and then kind of bringing it here. It's fine to do that, and I can understand why authors want to do that, to bring your work to a new audience. What Curie is trying to do is to add value to the Steam blockchain and to reward things that add value to the Steam blockchain, and fresh content is really what we're looking to reward there. As far as how do Curie curators find it, I guess you could say it's kind of by magic. You certainly can't say, here, you review my post. You can't submit your post to Curie. Curie has curators. There's currently about 50, maybe a fewer than 50 active curators working for Curie. they're out there scouring for good posting, and basically if they find a post and feel like it's exceptional, they submit it for review. And there's really nothing that you can do besides just writing a great post. I would say try to tag your posts appropriately, like the Curie tag. There isn't a tag that you can use to get Curie curator eyes on your post. But when I say tag it appropriately, take a minute to look at the tags be used for the kind of posting that you're doing, and try to use the most popular relevant tags, because really that's how people find posts for the most part. Unless they're already following you, they're going to find your post by searching through a particular tag. So don't just pick random tags. Or don't pick a tag that has absolutely no posts in it at all, because nobody's going to be browsing that. So do take a second to look through the tags and find out what's the most popular tag that's relevant to your posting, and try to use those tags.
Yeah, sort of like, don't do an introduce yourself post and put fiction on it unless your introduction is all a story and no truth. We actually see a lot of those. So you've got another project,
Go ahead.
the Curation Collective. How did that evolve?
So I think it was a natural evolution for me. With Curie, there's a limited amount of posts that we can upvote, and the number of posts that Curie can upvote has actually been decreasing a little bit, because the percentage of the reward pool that has been decreasing as more and more of the available Steam power is being used to vote, because more and more of it is being delegated to vote bots. And I'm not going to, vote botting, whether that's good or bad, but Curie has some guidelines that we try to abide by, which are the average payout from a Curie upvoted post has to give the author at least twice as much as the combined fee that the reviewer and curator gets. And so as the value of the Curie vote goes down, we have to give a higher and higher percentage vote to be able to achieve that minimum. And of course, when you're increasing your vote percentage, it means that the total number of votes that you can give decreases. So just to give you an idea, when I started curating for Curie back in October of 2017, an average vote was in the 15 to 20% range, and now an average Curie vote is in about 30%. And so obviously there's been a corresponding decrease in the number of posts that get upvote. But even before that, we just couldn't reach that many people. There's, exceptional is a really, really high bar that we're looking for. And there's a whole world of posting out there that isn't going to get a Curie, but it's still, real posting by real authors who probably deserve some kind of boost up. And I wanted to, be able to reach more people with my curation effort. And I've also noticed that there's an awful lot of really good curation efforts by people who don't necessarily have the ability to give a good upvote behind it. There's like a lack of manual curators here on the platform. There's tons of them, but I think the issue is more that most of the curation groups, with the exception of like the Curie and the OCDs, can't really come along behind their curation and give an actual big upvote to boost up these authors. So I thought, let's do a more inclusive curation effort, and that's what C Squared is intended to be. The tagline is upvoting real posts by real humans. So what we're trying not to do is trying not to upvote spam, trying not to upvote plagiarists. But that leaves it pretty open as far as what we do upvote. And then I come along behind all the posts that C Squared upvotes, try to give some of the better ones a small Curie upvote. And a couple of the other Curie direct follow curators have started doing the same thing. So there's actually 3 direct follow curators who come through the posting upvoted by C Squared and give out smaller Curie upvotes to the better posting there. So it's a way to give a little boost up to authors and to kind of spread the Curie love out to a whole group of people that wouldn't necessarily get big Curies, real people that are making real posts.
So Kitty Girl asks, how often do you find more qualified posts than you have votes to go around? Is that common?
Definitely. There's always going to be more posts out there than we can upvote as far as Curie is concerned. The curators we use an internal submission tool where the curators can see like how many posts are in the queue, and we know like what the vote power is. So will, to a certain extent, if there's already a bunch of posts waiting for review and they know that the vote power is such that they're not, if they submitted another 10 posts right then, that most of them wouldn't be able to be upvoted because of the available power, take a pause on curating until the queue is cleared up and the vote power is recovered a little bit. So case that we have to reject a bunch of posts that are submitted because the vote power isn't high. But what is the case is that curators will kind of already take this into account, and when the vote power is getting low, post a bunch of posts waiting for review, that the curators will kind of take a break and wait for the vote power to recover. So yeah, absolutely. We're limited by the number of votes we can give out, and we would give out more votes otherwise.
So the Hive has asked, is there certain tags you do not look through?
For Curie in particular, it's not about tags at all. Curie does have a couple kind of excluded categories, but it's based on the actual content of the post, not on the tag. So Curie, for the most part, isn't going to upload a political or religious post. And what that really means, though, is a slanted post, a post that is obviously on one side or another of a political or religious issue, and that might either be offensive or be exclusionary to people that are on a different side of that issue, to be as inclusive as possible. But we don't want to, by uploading a post that it takes one position, we don't want to kind of seem as if we're supporting that position coming down on the other side. But it's based on the content of the post, not on the tags that you use.
That makes sense. So your Curation Collective has been running for a while. I'm assuming that you've probably got a post or two today that you've got a favorite of?
A couple posts in today. These are just some of the posts that I found the last few days. So I brought a range of a couple newer authors and also a couple higher rep and established authors who I still feel aren't making very much and could still use more exposure. Should I drop some links here in the chat?
Yeah, drop one in and let's have a look at it.
Yeah, just drop them in the text chat. Shadows Pup, you're unusually quiet. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, good.
I'm just waiting for him to drop the link.
This was this user joined back in September of last year, but didn't post until just this past week. This is the father of Van Digital, who is a well-established digital musician here on platform. And Van Digital's been collaborating with a couple other musicians and did like the Rock the Blockchain song recently. Callum Highwater looks like a really interesting character. Has come out with a couple really cool posts. He's a cannabis activist. He's a singer-songwriter and a filmmaker. And to give him a small Curie upvote on one of his posts that just came through a couple days ago. I uploaded this post that just got dropped here. But he actually just released another post this morning that is an awesome post, and I haven't uploaded it yet. Zero payout right now with 2 upvotes, cannabis from the inside. And I think it's a great post.
So what caught your attention? First, how did this fellow come to your attention? And secondly, what caught your attention about this post, the cannabis from the inside?
My attention, actually, I realized that I left off an important thing about what the Curation Collective and what C Squared is all about. It's intended as a community for curators, and so we've invited anybody who already curates on the blockchain, and that could be either individually, like you're out there looking for people to upvote and you upvote them, or if you work for another curation organization. We've invited anybody who already curates to come join the Curation Collective and drop off curated links. You can't drop links to your own posting there, or you can in the self-promotion channel, but all the curation channels are not for self-promotion. And this author came to my attention because one of the curators who had joined the Curation Collective brought him forward. Ganja Farmer is the name of this curator. He's focused on cannabis curation. So I'm assuming that's how he originally saw him. First comment I had was that I saw that he was the son of, or rather the father of Van Digital. I was already familiar with Van Digital, and I love it when you've got these kind of connections between Steamians. It makes it a lot easier to tell that somebody's a real authentic person when, you know, somebody else is saying, oh yeah, I know this person in real life. That's a level of verification that, you know, you don't have to do quite as much digging when another Steamian is saying, oh yeah, this is my father. And he just seems like a character. You know, been smoking cannabis daily for 50 years and is an activist for cannabis. He's a musician, film writer. Has done an awful lot of stuff in his life. You know, produced documentary films. And I love it when people have all these diverse interests that they're going to bring forward, because you know that their posting will be on a variety of topics, and it'll all be interesting because they are talking about things that they're passionate about. Oldest Steamian on the platform, he's wondering if maybe he was on his introduction post. I've seen a couple people that were older than 71, but he's probably up there. I think 71 is definitely higher than the median age here.
Oh, very definitely. I wonder what he's going to be an activist about after October when Canada legalizes the marijuana.
You know, I've seen an awful lot of people that are still think that that's sort of legal technically, but that means that you have to, you know, go through the government approved strains or something. I don't know. I haven't actually looked too much into what the Canadian.
No, we are Canadian.
Are.
It will be available for recreational use. It'll be for sale in stores across the country.
Oregon in the United States, which is the same deal here. We've legalized it on the state level in Oregon.
Yeah, it'll be national here, but each province will have the distribution of it to regulate one way or the other. So it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be the really interesting part.
Yeah. So there's this fella, and who else caught your attention?
Gaming author. He's been doing a series of like this year in games, you know, 19 games and what games came out. But what I love about it is that he writes with a really personal tone and shares his own insights and opinions on the game. It's not just what you could find if you went to Wikipedia and looked up what games came out. You'll see people that do this kind of posting, and really all they're doing is what I just suggested. They're going to Wikipedia and they found like the whatever 20 games that came out or whatever other thing that they're posting about and just kind of reworded the Wikipedia article. This guy MTech is not doing that at all. He is a really personable writer, adds his own opinions and thoughts on it, and really seems to be trying to engage with the community. And again, his posting is not making much money at all. So just somebody I wanted to bring forward. If you're interested in video games at all, this is a guy to follow. And I would love to see some more community members kind of discovering him.
He does have some
post link here.
Interesting approach there.
Yeah, this does look good. I'm just looking at that link. I love it when they put their humor. They bring in their humor and their personal experiences.
Exactly, that's what I meant. He really writes with that personal voice, and that's what I look for. I mean, I don't care so much if grammar is perfect, and you know, I'm not a grammar Nazi. But what I do care about is if it's just dry and boring, then like what's the point? I want somebody who's actually cares about what they're writing and brings some of their own personality into it, and this guy definitely does that.
Kitty Girl comments that she's a contributing editor to Wikipedia,
Okay,
so it's
girl.
awesome
go
when
ahead.
folks
No, you
mention
go
the
ahead.
project. Oh.
These are both relatively newer authors. I wanted to bring forward somebody here who's a Rep 70 author, who's one of my favorites. And her posting typically makes, you know, still under $1 even at Rep 70. You know, obviously she got some bigger upvotes in the past. She's a film director and a photographer. Just, I think, one of the higher quality authors on Steam platform, and it just blows my mind that somebody can have been here for this long and be Rep 70. And let me drop you a couple links to some awesome posts that she just did that are still under $1. And her photography is amazing. Like, I'll drop you a link to a concert photo gallery that she just put together. We had 47 cents, and to me, it's mind blowing that somebody like her can still be coming in with posts under $1. This is an awesome post I just linked with the really interesting concert photography footage, and it's at 47 cents. It's kind of disheartening that you can be rep 70 and putting out this kind of content and still have content that's under $1. That's to me, you get all these people that are looking to boost up minnows, which is great because you need help too. But you also see people that have been on platform for a long time and still need help. So that's somebody I wanted to bring forward.
And this is some really great photography.
I think she's a professor in film studies. Like, her film reviews are amazing too. I mean, some of the highest quality cinema reviews that I've read on the blockchain, and again, most of them are just $1 or $2. So high quality poster here, and somebody that I want to bring forward.
So there's another question. Networking. I guess it's not just all about, okay, who sees your posts and where you put them. It's really about engaging and getting to know as many people as you can, creating a back and forth. And I wonder if this person is active or if they're busy in their, see, that's what happens. You get busy in your real world. You have a brick and mortar job, and then you have to come and spend so much time on Steam. So what's a good way for us to promote these people other than by manually curating? Are there more avenues that we're missing?
That's and the weirdest part about this. It's because you do often see authors that it's absolutely the case that the reason they're not earning is because they're not engaging. They just come here and they drop off their content and then they leave. But that's not the case here with this author that I just brought forward. She's actually a pretty active commenter. Not the most active. Like, she's got 2,600 total posts and joined in September 2016. But if you look at her comment feed, she's commenting daily, and she's responding to people that are commenting on her posts. I think what she's not doing as much is going onto other people's posting and putting herself out there. So if you're not already following her and you're not already commenting on her posts, then you're probably not gonna. And I do think really the single biggest thing that you can do to help your earning is to engage in the comments with other authors on their posting and to take a little bit of time. If you make a post, take a couple minutes to search around for other people that are posting on similar topics and try to leave a thoughtful, intelligent comment on their posting that advances the discussion and puts your name out there to it. That'll basically put you out there to a new audience that you're not already being exposed to in your own posting. And I think it's the most important thing that an author can do. I don't know that it's something that for them, but it's definitely a tip. If you're an author and you're struggling, it absolutely the most important thing you can do is the networking and commenting on other people's posting, joining Discord communities, because it is all about the networking. It's just the total truth that exceptional quality content isn't going to be enough to earn here. You might get the occasional Curie vote, but you're not going to get regular high earnings if all you're doing is making high quality posting. It's actually more important to network.
She probably would benefit by coming in to Pimp Your Post Thursday on a regular basis.
I'll suggest that in the comments to her, or somebody could. I think she's absolutely one of the highest quality content producers that I see on platform, and consistent too. I mean, it's not like she's somebody who just posts once a week, or once a couple times a month. She posts very regularly, and I've got a couple. Forward real quick though. I spend a lot of time curating and a lot of time looking through posts, both on my own for Curie and also in my role with the C Squared Curation Collective. So I've got a lot of this stuff. I've got two more that I kind of picked out. This next guy is a cosplayer. And I just gave him a small Curie upload on his last post.
Hold on, Carl. We're going to divert for a minute because we kind of do this a little bit collectively. So, Artemis, how about you share one of your favorite ones this week?
Okay, sure. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I kind of got buried in the other ones. This is something new I found this week. this young group of, I'm assuming they're young, group of people have got together, and they love working with sand. So they've been all around the world doing their sand sculptures. And excuse me if I sound a little confused because they mentioned sculpture and carving all in the same sentence. So I'm going to have to ask them about that. So there's a comment. What they're doing is they've gone to Ireland, and Ireland's not really a place where you think of sand sculptures. What they want to do is create awareness of what can be achieved with this medium. So they've gone to the old Dublin Castle, which isn't really a popular spot for tourists. And I'm not going to tell you the rest of it because you got to read the post. It's humorous. I think it's fairly well written. They put a lot of details in there, and they've answered all my questions. And it's part one of a series. I never realized what it took to make those big sand sculptures that you see.
So it's informative, it's well laid out, there's good pictures.
Yeah, it pushes all my buttons. It answers my questions. They've got good pictures. They've got some humor in there and some personal background. I think it's a good deal.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to it, you can see that.
It does take some time to read it, but it's well done.
And with all that they put into it, less than $2, which right now in this economy is actually pretty decent.
Well, and it's only been up for 23 hours as well. So that's not bad for today.
I think Carl just did something. He said, check the payout again.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it just took a jump. Good stuff.
That's great. They'll be motivated and happy to bring out part number 2.
That
I
is,
have to
go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead, Cass. Shadows.
One of the things that I am noticing with the drop in activity on the platform is that it is getting a little bit easier to find some of these really good posts because the spammers are more or less giving up for the time being.
Well, that's true. But I tend to wonder how many people have walked away or hopefully they're just on holidays. I had a hard time
Yeah.
finding posts this week for my curation.
And as Arias just pointed out to me that Kitty Girl had a good question, so I'm going to scroll back to it.
Oh,
Some folks here are networking like crazy and still have quality posts that are $1 to $3 in payout. Networking alone doesn't cut it. What else can be done? Ideas on that, Carl?
I mean, I don't know how much more you can do besides make the quality posts and put in the time networking. But it's unfortunately the way that everything is set up here is that you kind of have to get pulled up by people that are higher above you. I mean, and the way that pyramid works is that there's always going to be fewer people with more steam power that can actually, give you the big upvote than there are people below trying to make the big payout. So, I mean, not everybody is going to be able to make it, but the people that you see that don't give up and that can continue to put in the work with engaging, over time it will definitely pay off, even if you don't see it with every single post. It's just stay committed to the engagement, and honestly, the engagement itself can be kind of a reward in and of itself. Commenting and interacting with people and becoming a part of a community will kind of keep you going and keep you buoyed, even if you're not making a ton of money on each post. And hopefully it'll get you through, and so you don't end up quitting. And then eventually, if you keep it up, you networked with the right person and they've noticed you and will start giving you the big upvotes. But it's just the honest truth with the way it works that you can't expect that every single person that comes on here is going to be one of the ones that makes it. So you just have to be persistent and keep doing what you can do, and you can't do a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, it really is about the only thing you can do. So, having mentioned the Kitty Girl, this is one of her posts that she did in the last week. And Kitty Girl typically does posts that are very informative, take in a lot of information, give us a lot of information, and very well laid out. And one of the things that she actually does love doing is old barns. this post kind of combines a lot the old barns along with, I call it nostalgia, in that she's displaying how old signs are being preserved and presented around the countryside. So I was pretty impressed with this post.
One thing I really love about Kitty Girl, if you follow her and read her posts, is with every post, she gives you another little tidbit of who she is. So eventually, we're gonna have a full picture.
Then she'll change it.
Well, yeah, once you know the rules, they have to be erased.
It's such a great point, and something I was kind of mentioning earlier, which is that people who are kind of posting about things that they're excited about and putting, some of yourself into your posts. If you can look through a bunch of posts from somebody and you don't actually have any sense of who they are as a person and what they're doing, then that person is doing something wrong. So 100% absolutely agree that somebody who is giving you a taste of who they are and is putting some of their own personality into it, that is the way to go, and it's totally valuable. And unfortunately, so many people are trying to be polished and professional and remove those aspects of themselves from their posting to try to appear, I don't know, like just the regular generic C. And I don't understand why people spend so much time and energy to do that instead of just actually letting us in on what the real deal is. Like, actually let us know who you are and what you're interested in, because that's always going to be more interested. If you're interested in something, it'll be more interesting when you're writing about it.
Well, the crazy part of it is that a professional writer doesn't eliminate their own personality. That's what gives them the appeal, is their personality and thoughts and ideas getting in there.
That's the most interesting part, in my opinion.
Your best writers put some of themselves into the writing, so if they're eliminating their own personality out of the writing, they're going at it the wrong way. Did we lose Carl?
I never know which personality to use.
Well, there are exceptions to the rule, Jan.
What else have you found? Oh, go ahead, Snook.
Well, not that I'm an expert by any means, but I enjoy reading posts that you can tell when a person has heart or time invested in a post. Those are the ones I go back to. Evening Heart is brand new on the platform, and she's one that when I have some spare time, I go right to hers because I want to see what she's written, and every post is interesting, and she's brand new, but because of how she interacts on my posts, and that's how I found her. But she puts her heart in every post.
She does, and she's got a good, varied repertoire. She's also a regular at Pip Your Post Thursday, which is nice too.
Yeah.
And she's very talented.
That she is. She was one of the Welcome Wagon's proteges.
And taught me how to doodle.
Well, that's important, learning how to doodle. So, Carl, you had another one that you were going to put up there before we interjected ours.
And by all means, if other people have other ones to share, I had came prepared with a few. Let me grab. So this next guy is a cosplayer. Put the post of the last project that he finished. He just recently got a 3D printer. Hasn't really had any major awards. I gave him a small Curie on this post that I'm linking here. He's been using his 3D printer to print out parts to make accessories for his costume. He made this Star Wars blaster. This is Rey's blaster. It's a pretty good post. It kind of shows the process. He had posted about it previously, but this one doesn't really show the process. This is the finished version, and he had posted previously about the earlier steps. That hasn't posted a ton, but he mentioned in the comments that he's got a bunch of projects that he's working on and is going to start to post more. And it fascinates me. I'm not a cosplayer myself, but some of the most interesting posts that I've seen are from cosplayers because there's nothing boring about it. I don't know. It's just basically they've got that love for something so much that they're gonna like you try to recreate it themselves. When we're talking about posting about something that you're actually into or care about, have that in spades because they love this stuff so much that they're kind of devoting big chunks of their actual day-to-day life to it too, not just posting about it. They're actually taking the time to make the costumes and to do the research and to go to festivals and conventions and whatnot. So I feel like cosplayers kind of have a leg up just in terms of interesting stuff to post about, and I'm personally fascinated with it. I guess I'm kind of a closet, like I would like to be a cosplayer, but I'm not.
So that's been printed on a 3D printer. You wouldn't know it.
He prints out the individual pieces and then assembles them, but yeah, I thought it was pretty impressive.
That is impressive because you have to know how to manipulate that software, and that's not easy.
Posting, somebody gifted him a used 3D printer just a few months back, and he was asking for advice from the community on tutorials, and Marky Mark kind of sent him a few YouTube tutorials and whatnot. So basically, this is starting from not knowing anything about it just a few months ago, and you can see the progression in his posting, him talking about his very first things. He printed a badge. To go from there to this in just a few months is pretty awesome, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the new projects are that he's working on. I think this is somebody who sometimes I can just look at a poster's posting history and say, oh man, they're going to yield like a Curie level post anytime now. And I think this is somebody, if any Curie curators are out there listening, keep your eye on this guy because he's going to put out something that you could see with the Curie on it anytime now.
Yeah, or somebody who creatives, like, I don't know, Artemis?
Well, thank you, Carl, because I now have a new tag to go in my search list because I never thought of looking at cosplay. What's more creative than cosplay?
And especially, for craft and do-it-yourself stuff like you're into, cosplay involves so many aspects because they make the costumes and the accessories, so really it covers an awful lot.
It sure does. Thank you.
I'd never heard of it until today. Now I think I'm going to be seeing more of it.
Well, your niece kind of got me hooked on going to Comic-Cons. And when you go to Comic-Con, it's a whole new world. And you'll be walking along, and then all of a sudden, out of the middle of nowhere, a cosplay happens right in front of you. And it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, I would love to have the time and energy to do cosplay, and I just don't. But maybe someday I'll be cool enough.
There's so much work in that. When you see the World of Warcraft costumes that people make and stuff, I mean, it's just unreal.
Yeah, it's amazing what people will get into doing. Okay,
so what else do you... Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead, Artemis.
I was just going to say, what else you got, Carl?
This next author is kind of in between where he's been noticed a little bit. I've actually submitted 3 of his posts for Curies, and they've all been approved. So he's got some Curies, but most of his posts don't actually make a ton of money. He owns a comic book store, and so he posts a lot about comic book stuff. I'm going to share here the comics in his store, and then found the very first appearance of the Legion of Superheroes in a near mint condition. He's saying that this comic here is probably worth about $3,000 to $5,000. But he's hilarious. This guy is really funny. He's actually written some great posts about going to Comic Cons. So when you were mentioning that Comic Cons are a trip, read some of his posts about, because he attends all these different Comic Cons, and he's just a really, really funny writer and got a great sense of humor. And he's another person who I feel like the majority of his posts are making under $1, and they're all just really well written and funny, and all about stuff that he's really passionate about. He's a total geek, and if you're geeky about something, if you're posting about it, you can't help but that level of enthusiasm comes through in your posting, and that's what we're looking for. And this is somebody who has it in spades. I really like this guy.
So did you just happen to have that, or did you have it because Artemis mentioned Comic-Con?
Oh, it's total coincidence.
Great minds think alike. God help us.
Well, they also say fools seldom differ, so you choose. Well, this is exciting. I guess it's I love curating, and I'm kind of excited now. I have new tags to look through. It's like treasure.
I've got another one here I'm going to share.
Good.
This one was presented yesterday at the Drop in the Ocean. And one of the things that really grabbed me about this post and another one that was also presented there was the relating of the real life experience and doing it in a very authentic and honest way. And they were both really well done.
You're right. This post was powerful. To be honest, I haven't commented yet because I needed to chew on it some more.
Yeah, I can well understand that. But it was beautifully written. Expressed yourself wonderfully as far as I was concerned, because that's a tough subject to work with, especially when it's personal.
But Monchichi did it so well.
She did really well. Yeah, you really didn't need to go there, Snook.
Oh, but since it's there, tell us what you think of this post, Snook.
I loved this post. It was, my heart was beating like 10 times faster than it should have been by the time I was done with it. And I know certain people don't like being talked about, but this one really did need to be talked about. I'm sorry. Because it was written just, you were there. You were right there. And you could feel everything that the person that wrote it was feeling. And I was just amazed by the time I got done with it.
It was a really good post. I think even if I hadn't been there, my heart still would have been pounding when I was reading it. It was really well written, Shadows.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had to be done.
Snook, you're
Well,
brat.
But yeah, but you know that, so.
Okay, I have one for you guys. And hopefully it might give you a little feel good. I know Engine likes the feel goodies. This is just something that I found that was well put together, and the heart really comes through. And it's just a mom showing what she does with her kids when she's frustrated because they need something to do. And this is the greatest little trick that she found. And she put it together and showed us how to do it too. I love these posts.
How does she do it?
It's well, you have to read it now, I'll tell you. It's just a white crayon on paper, and then you give the kids tempera or I always mispronounce that paint name, or just watercolors, and you draw them. You draw first. You prep the paper ahead of time, of course, and you draw the little pictures or maybe little messages for the slightly older kids that can read, and you tell them to paint the pictures and tell me what you see, and then all of a sudden magic. There's hidden objects on this page. I thought it was really fun and a great
Oh,
idea.
that reminds me of egg dyeing.
Mm-hmm.
With the white crayon they used to give you?
Yeah, that was fun.
Nothing like arts
All
and
Curie,
crafts that
and
keeps kids
looks
busy.
like it already was hit.
Oh, good. Sweet Pea's another person that I like to follow because you're never totally sure what she's going to post, but you always know you're going to enjoy it. She's a good writer.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I do tend to find is that we'll get drawn to certain authors, and every now and again I have to draw the line and go, nope, I got to go look at some others. They're good, but they can't keep getting curated.
It's true. With what I curate, sometimes I get frustrated because the core community that I started out supporting is quite small, and needleworkers tend to really want to share what they've done, but we don't always take the time to present it properly. So there's certain authors that I go back to, and I have to remember, no, I'm going to have to go further afield and see what else is out there, because it does become a habit sometimes.
So, Carl, thoughts on where you think the future of the platform's headed?
That's kind of the $1,000,000 question: is what is it going to mean when the communities feature and SMTs come out? I'm cautiously optimistic that it'll lead to some really good things. A lot of what we see as problems with the platform are not necessarily blockchain level problems, but are more problems on the front end level, as far as why do we have such a hard time retaining new users and why is the experience so bad. A lot of that can be fixed on the front end level, and I feel like, well, then why has Steam It Inc. been so, why have they been kind of dragging their feet on improving the front end, the main front end, flagship front end, steamit.com? Why is it still so feature poor? And it's because, from what I've gathered, that they've been choosing to focus on easier for other developers. What's underpinning the communities feature that's coming out is a brand new layer that's a non-consensus layer that's going to go onto the blockchain. This is the Hive, or the Hive Mind. What this means is that since it's non-consensus, so it doesn't have to do with the layers that are consensus critical that the witnesses all have to agree on, transaction history and whatnot. Consensus layer means that it can be developed for an awful lot quicker, because it doesn't have to have all this extensive testing to make sure it's not going to mess up something on the consensus level. And they've also Python, which is a much more accessible coding language for this HiveMind layer. And what this means is that when going forward, once this is released, when an app developer wants to come on board and create their new killer app to give people a great experience, it's going to be way more accessible to way more developers. Python is one of the easier object-oriented programming languages to learn. Versus, comparing that with C++, which is what you have to know right now to develop on, Steam blockchain, it's night and day difference. The number of people that are going to be able to develop for Steam blockchain is going to increase dramatically, and the development time is going to go down dramatically. So I understand why Steam It Inc. was choosing to focus on this rather than make kind of cosmetic changes to steamit.com. And my hope is that once the HiveMind layer comes out and once communities come out, that we'll start to see people take advantage of that. And, if you don't like bots and you don't like spam, you can create a community focused around a particular topic, and you can develop, if you wanted to, you could make a CAPTCHA be a requirement so that every time, once a day, or maybe depending, like once a week, if your IP address doesn't change, you have to solve a CAPTCHA to be able to post in the community. If you don't like bidbots, you can make it a rule that any posting that has bidbot upvotes in it doesn't get displayed in the community. This kind of stuff is going to be a lot easier to do, so it really should be a lot easier to make apps that are kind of focused on individual communities, or for somebody to come along and make a steamit.com type equivalent that offers these sort of features. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the direction they're going is a good direction. And then with SMTs, the interesting thing is that we'll get to see dozens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of different attempts at getting the game theory right. I don't think the incentives are lined up currently very well to reward, quality content and reward good behavior on blockchain. Incentives right now, if you're an investor, the clear incentive is to delegate all your money to a bidbot. It gives you by far the highest ROI. But make their own SMTs get to decide how that gets distributed. And so all these people will be taking a stab at how do we actually incentivize the behavior that we want to see. And with all these different people doing it, hopefully at least one of them gets it right? Somebody comes out with an SMT that actually nails it and is associated with a large community and actually incentivizes, good community building behavior and upvoting good content. Well, that's great. Then it doesn't necessarily have to be Steam that is the winner there, or that it basically an SMT could actually, in theory, even become more valuable than Steam. And I feel like basically this is kind of like a building kit to allow anybody to take a stab at it, and we're going to see a lot more people doing that. And I'm optimistic that we'll see some good things coming out of it.
Well, I'm a little bit biased, but I think that the front end and the SMT that the writer's block is going to put up is going to, of course, do that. So we've got a couple other questions there. Kitty Girl has asked, is there a limit to how many times someone can be curied?
Well, there's no hard limits. The more if you received a Curie super recently, you're less likely to get another one, particularly if it's for a very similar type of posting. Any like hard limit, and what makes it more likely that you'll receive another Curie, yes, is if you're posting, if since the last time you got a Curie, you've done a bunch of quality posting and they haven't made a lot of money, then you're more likely to get another Curie. So in a way, it's like if you're not succeeding, that'll make you more likely to get another Curie. But that's because the goal of Curie is to help boost up valued or under-rewarded authors. So, if you're posting and every single post is making $5 to $10 already, maybe you don't necessarily need the Curie help. But if you're posting, and even if you've made a bunch, even if you've had several Curies in the past, but you're still continuing to do quality posting and they're not earning much money, then yeah, absolutely, you can get another Curie in the future.
And any advice for people who'd like to become Curie curators?
Unfortunately, a little bit of a bad time to try to get into it because Curie is actually in a contraction period. I mentioned at the beginning of this talk that the average upvote has had to increase to keep the level of payout on the Curie upvote at the level it needs to be so that the authors are still making more money than the curators and reviewers. So it's instituted some more restrictive guidelines that disqualify curators out if they don't maintain a certain score. And we've gone from well over 100 active curators monthly down to about like 40 something in the last month or two. So we've slashed the curator force in half basically because we just basically had too many curators competing for an increasingly limited resource. Get into Curie as a curator is to be recommended in by one of the top performing curators. I don't necessarily advise just kind of spam DMing them out of the blue, but you can look at the monthly update that gets published at the end of every month, and it'll list the curators who have achieved a high enough score to be able to recommend in new curators. If you know some of them personally, then you can talk to them about it. Top curator kind of has their own methods. Some of them take on people kind of one-on-one and work with them for a while and have you send them posts and then talk over whether it's a good submission or not. Mentoring channels, and if you scroll back up in the announcements channel in the Curie Discord, you'll see a couple announcements about who to DM to get into these kind of group mentoring channels that work with a couple of the top curators who can recommend in new curators. So that's another potential avenue. But more or less, you have to impress one of the top curators enough with your curation ability that they take a chance to recommend you in. And I say take a chance because if a top curator recommends you in and then you end up, the top curator loses the ability to recommend in new curators. So given that we were kind of in a shrinking phase, there haven't been a whole ton of new people recommended in because the guidelines are so restrictive right now that the existing curators are having a hard time and people are failing out. And we're just kind of right now starting to stabilize again at a level where the number of curators does actually makes sense for the amount of posts that Curie can upvote. So I don't know that a ton of more people are going to get added anytime soon. But as curators continue to fail out, new ones will get added, and that's the avenue. You just have to get recommended in by one of the top curators.
Kitty Girl's made the observation that she can envision Curies possibly using SMTs as rewards someday in addition to upvotes, which could be good if upvotes run out on any given day.
Curie isn't currently working on an SMT, but there is at least one and possibly more curation-focused SMTs that are in the works. Donkey Pong's working on a curation SMT. Donkey Pong was one of the original Curie founders and is still very involved with the community curation that Curie does. So there's at least a possibility that at some point we could integrate that in. But at the moment, Curie isn't like working on like a Curie coin or anything.
Okay, and I'm going to remind everybody that there is a witness chat here on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which would be 3 p.m. UTC. So we hope to see as many witnesses and members of the community in as possible. And Artemis, final thoughts, and you can take it out.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with us, Carl. I've really learned a lot, and I hope everyone else did too. Please don't forget, tomorrow afternoon, is it at 3? Crazy BG Adventures has his show. Uh-oh, I forget the name of his show. Shadows?
The Steam Adventures. Just look down the list of channels.
Oh, I was thinking about the old show, The Steam Experience. I like his new name, was so much better. Anyways, thank you so much for showing up, everyone. This is Artemis North and Shadows Pub saying steamiate. That's my new word for the week. Steamiate. Go forth and steamiate.